Today we get to talk with William and Yicela of Taqueria Habanero of DC. They are running three different restaurants for Yicela's parents who don't speak any English and took every dollar they had and opened up a restaurant. So it's always interesting to see people that go all in on themselves, and that's exactly what this family did. And Yicela has been helping running her parents' restaurant since she was 16. So this young lady is very, very mature, and she's brought in William to help out as well. So they've got a great story. Their family's awesome, and it's really cool to see what they're doing in DC. Stay tuned. All right, we're up live. I am here with Yicela and William. Yeah, how are you guys up to? How are you guys doing? How's everything going? You're smiling, so things got to be going pretty good on your end.
Well, thank you first of all for having us on your podcast. I think it's a real honor, just for you, just to have us on your podcast. We're busy. It's the summer.
That's good.
You know, we manage a couple restaurants for my parents, so it's like we're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little background, I guess. Yeah, it's a 7 day a week thing, 24/7 type thing. Well, which is
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just take it as fun, and
Yeah.
you see a smile on our faces because hey, we just gotta be positive and keep going with everything.
And you have to love what you're doing as well. So
There it is. There it is right there.
you can be in the car ride and then you're also like on Amazon shopping for,
An emergency item for the restaurants.
yeah, while you're trying to grab lunch. So it's all part of the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I was in hospitality for about 20 years in New York, and there's two types of people. There's the people that are just doing it. I have to do it. It's my job. I'm trying to make some money. And there's people like you that's like, I love doing this. This is fun. I could be doing worse things in life and just go about it and have a smile on my face. So how long have you guys, now you said you're running your parents' restaurants, right?
Yes. So just to, dive into the history of it. So Taqueria, the first restaurant was Taqueria Habanero. We established that 8 years ago. My parents worked for Jose Andres' restaurants, Jaleo and Oyamel, for a good 15 plus years. So they learned a lot. They learned how to cook there. They brought their own like style of cooking, and that was a really good school for them. But as the company got bigger, they also realized that they wanted to do something for themselves as well. So it was a leap of faith, where they took all of their savings and they said, we're going to do something here. The first thing was, there was a farmer's market. So back then, going back maybe 11 years ago, farmers markets weren't like such a big thing as it is now, at least in DC.
Right.
The farmers markets have really picked up in the last years. So it really was this parking lots that on the weekends there was a lot of Latin food vendors, and they all brought like their regional cooking. So my parents are like, oh, like during our time off, like they both had full-time jobs, so they're just like, on our days off we're going to sell food. So they said we're going to bring tacos, right? So they had this like 16-inch griddle. We like if you look at our menu now, it's just like it has so much more than what we offered there. So so at first I think my parents I think if I remember right, they only sold like $100 that first day. Right. But they just had so much hope and persistence, right? Because they knew that they had a good product, right? And it just really took time. So me at that time, I was probably like 16 years old. My sisters were like 14, and the other one was like probably like 12. So like we didn't really think much of it because they didn't involve us back then, when it was just really like it was just picking up. But as the time, like we were selling in this farmer's market for probably a good 3 years, right? So after a couple of months, my parents are like, waking up at like 6 in the morning to make the tortillas to like, like out of this
Jeez.
home kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So as business picked up, we had to, increase our quantities. So if you opened up our fridge, it was literally all of all of the food items that we were going to be selling for the next day. Like we didn't have a second fridge, so like our house kitchen really became like that prep kitchen, right?
So you just ate tacos every day, all day long?
No. I mean, I don't even remember like what like. I mean, there was like some space, but honestly, like we were like me and my sisters were going to school and everything. So on the weekends, I remember they would wake us up at 8 a.m. They're like, "Hey, come and help like load up the truck. We have to bring these coolers. We have to bring all these things, right?" So we were just like, "Oh my God, like it's the weekend. We have to get up and we have to go help them, right?" And they really they needed our help to like charge people to like basically serve as that cashier, take
Yeah.
orders. So that was us for a good 3 years, like after school, like my mom sometimes would call me. She's like, if you don't really have that much homework, like, would you mind coming and helping us out? So like, your parents are asking you nicely, like you don't want to be like, you don't want to be like a like ungrateful person, right?
Right.
So, we would all like, there
Yeah,
were
but how old were you?
I was probably 16. Yeah, 16.
A
So
lot
my
of 16-year-olds have better things to do than
I know. I don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, all right.
So no, yeah, for a good 3 years we did that, right? So one day on 14th Street, Upper 14th Street, there was a like my mom like took a break from cooking and she was just walking up the street and then she saw like this like brick and mortar place and it was a nail salon and it said for like the space was being leased, right? So they took the leap of faith and the money that they had saved up like while working and also doing like this whole side gig of like selling on the weekends, like they said we're going to open our first like brick and mortar place because we really want to like they envisioned that this was going to be like a small like mom and pop shop, like we're just gonna do tacos, like that's it. And they wanted something permanent, like we couldn't be working out of our home kitchen like for so many years, right?
Right.
So they said let's do it. That process was very endearing as well. It was probably like a little like a year and a half of us just dealing with the government board trying to get the place open. So you can imagine how stressful it was for my parents just having to just having to have hope that this is going to open, but a whole year and a half and not like seeing an end result was really stressful on the family. So that when we finally got our business license, I was there. I served as like an interpreter translator for my parents at 17. So like that process, and I learned a lot. I think that
Do
taught
your
me.
parents speak much English at all?
No, they don't.
No.
They
Nothing.
don't. So
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
their I'm their main like administrative operations person. Everything besides the cooking.
Besides the cooking.
Besides the cooking, I'm everything for
Yeah.
them. So yeah, like we got the basic the basic business license, like that's what they say here in DC. And I remember crying. I was like, oh my God, like the person who gave it to me, like the receptionist was like shocked. They're like, why is this girl crying? And like they didn't realize how much it took for us to just get this piece of paper, right? For us to open. So yeah, we opened 8 years ago, and we started with 12 tables. It was like these purple tables, and it's funny because I remember our signage. They have some background in baking goods as well, like like Mexican sweetbreads and everything. So it said Taqueria and bakery. That didn't really work out.
No.
It just became like at that time it was just tacos, right? Tacos, like so we kind of had to like scratch out the bakery part because we're like we don't have the capacity and
Right.
like space to do this. So yeah, now 8 years later, we have 2 establishments. We're opening up our 3rd location, and we have tequila and mezcal.
Wow.
It's still a family business. My 2 other siblings, one is a bartender, and the other one moonlights as a server. And we all just manage operations as best as we can.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And William, how did they rope you into this?
So Yicela, Yicela, I guess just over the time, over the time, uh, Yicela got tired. I started dating her, and Yicela got tired of, hearing the same process or just seeing the every day to day at the restaurants. And she's like, "Hey, like I'm just gonna go look for another job." And as she mentioned, she is the base for her mom and her dad to really communicate anything to them, as far as any processes, as far as the government, as far as anything. It's basically her. And that's where Gisela said, "Hey, look, I'm tired, take William." And I tell you, for me, it's been a lot of growth in the past 5 years. It's a lot of growth because I come from working in advanced auto parts,
Mm,
so it's a complete
yeah.
change. And I was working as a manager in advanced auto parts, so a lot of the stuff, a lot of the SOPs, a lot of the operational stuff, and the customer service, they're really great at it, I'll tell you that. And that's where, personally, I feel like that was my school for customer service, my
Mm.
school for all that. And I was like, hey, like, well, I remember her mom asked me, she's like, hey, like, do you want to come and work with us? Like, your son's no longer going to work with us no more. So I need your help. And I said, okay, I don't know anything. I don't know about cooking. And I remember at that time, I was like, I want to be a chef. I want to do this. I want to do that. Not really knowing what I was getting myself into.
Mm, yeah.
And yeah, from there it started. We were actually at that moment, we were in the process of opening up a second location. So I had to take on that whole project, as far as dealing with county, as far as dealing with government stuff, accounting, social media, etc., and even working at the restaurant. So
Yeah.
it was a 7 day type thing, no days off. But it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot to understand who I really am and what am I capable of. After that, at the same time, they had seen another location, which was Tequila and Mezcal.
Yeah.
So in the back to back years, basically, they were like, "Hey, let's look." There was enough to start opening up a third location, and that's where
Mm,
Tequila and Mezcal came around. As far as Tequila and Mezcal, I feel like, I'll be honest. I'm full Salvadorian. I'm 100% Salvadorian. I was born in El Salvador. I came here when I was 8. Um, so the Mexican culture it's completely different. Well, not slight, it's slightly completely different.
I think it's completely
Yeah,
different.
yeah, but yeah, and it's like, personally, I'm like, hey, like, it's something new for me. It's something
yeah.
new to understand and learn, and I'm always open minded to to new things, and personally, I feel like I've learned a lot,
Mm,
and opening up the third location, we're like, hey, you know what is the image? Not just that, but what is our focus at this location? And that's
yeah.
where her mom had seen something. Well, she has seen a bar. She had envisioned a bar, and we're like, hey, a bar works, but a full bar, and how do you operate a full bar? Mind you, I'm coming from, as I mentioned to you, I'm coming from
Auto
advanced
parts.
auto parts. And this is, and they have they haven't really been exposed to that environment, as far as they were cooks, so
Mm,
they never how to manage a bar, how to really understand the operations of it. So it's all been built self confidence to say, hey, like, we can do this. For Tequila Mezcal, we're like, hey, we need knowledge.
yeah.
So we traveled to Oaxaca to understand more, and that's where, and honestly, I tell you, I fell in love with mezcal.
Mm,
Personally, that's where I fell in love with mezcal, because it took me back home to El Salvador, and how my grandma used to work the fields, and it took me to that type of sense of like, hey, like, it's almost the same thing. It's the character everybody puts in. And yeah, that's I guess that's where I really came in the picture, and I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
just to clarify as
yeah.
well, I'm really grateful for Will just stepping up. I had gone to school, and after I graduated, I already had, like, I knew that I was going to be working at the restaurants, and I really wanted time to understand if, like, really exploring other professions was something that I wanted to do.
Mm.
So for 3 years, like, I explored like the nonprofit sector. Um, and for 3 years, Will had to literally be me.
Wow.
I mean, we lived together, so like I always kind of still kept tabs of what was going on and tried to always give him my opinion. But for 3 years, he did lead everything, and now I'm back and I'm happy. So we're understanding how to work together, and like he's been here, he's developed so many things that like I hadn't developed, and it's really my time to just like step in and be and play a supportive role to what he's created and to co-create together in the future.
Yeah. What did you go to school for?
I went to school for family studies, so
Okay.
I graduated from a liberal arts college. Mhm.
Gotcha. And then when you told your parents you didn't want to work there anymore, how did that go?
Well, being a first gen, like a
I
first
like
gen,
William's face right now.
like it was
She
very,
was a
it was
little
a very,
upset.
it was a
What
bit,
story, William? What story am I gonna get right now? Am I gonna get the nice
Right,
story? All
yeah,
right.
it was a bit
Yeah.
traumatizing because
Yeah.
it's like, my parents are like, we're doing all of this for you guys.
Right.
This is for you guys. And you don't want a part in this. But at the same time, I was in my dorm, like, even in school for 4 years, I was, writing proposals and sending emails in my dorm room before class,
Wow.
So like I've always, on the every other weekend I would travel back. I went to school in the state, so like basically I was far enough to like do my own thing, but like close enough to always come back in case of an emergency.
Right.
So, every other weekend I was coming back. So I really wanted that opportunity. I think through it all, my mom saw it. Like she saw that I was becoming burnt out, and she basically kind of, she says she fired me, but I think I just left at my own will.
I
So,
love it. I love it. You both have two different stories. No, mom, I
yeah,
left. No, we fired you.
yeah. But through it all, like I'm back now, and I think the team is just stronger than ever.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you? Looking at it from afar, it looks like you needed that break. I mean, going in at 16, you would have been burnt out now. Like you would have been fried. Like most people, they burn out. Obviously, this restaurant industry can take a lot out of you, but it's almost like you needed that break. You needed to figure out maybe I could do something different. Just having that little breather seems to help.
You are totally right about that. I completely forgot. Even when we opened that first location after school, I was, working in there for like a good year with like a team of 10, at a time, and people who
Jeez.
were much older than I was. So it's like, how do you deal with like the team and the, like not working as a team? And I'm like, I'm this person who like always wants to build, I believe in a very positive environment.
Mm.
And for us to just like, if it's always like we have to help each other out, because that's the only way to like survive this shift.
Yeah.
But when you have team members who really can't work as a team, you have to learn and adapt to how each person works and
Mm.
understand, okay, well, this person isn't really like strong in this department, but they're stronger in this department. So understand, like,
Mm.
having to learn how to manage was also very taxing. And you're totally right. I forgot about that part. But yeah.
Yeah. So where did you? Obviously, you have leadership skills and manager skills. Is it just things that you've
I
learned
think
through the rest?
I
Yeah.
got thrown into the fire, and
Yeah.
that's that's caused me to be the way that I am now. I believe that I am fearless, and I am very tactical with things,
Mm.
because of the things that have happened to me. You're young, and you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning. So the thing that I want to do least is disappoint my parents. This is their, they initiated, and they're still there now. And I just want to make sure that we build something that's going to outlast us all. I
Mm.
want,
Yeah.
even when I die, hopefully, like, the generations to come,
They carry on the tradition.
they carry on the tradition, and slowly but surely we are becoming a DC like emblem, and that's what I want people to recognize. There is history in this brand, and it is a family business.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting, like hearing your story, just like getting thrown into it, and because there's like, I mean, you could probably know looking back now that all years of college is not going to help you with like what you know. It's like just the fact that you got in there, you're dealing with older people, and just what you said about leadership and the team. Like you can't teach that stuff until you start getting in there and doing it and running a team, and you start to realize, especially in the restaurant industry, that everybody plays an integral role. Like if you lose your dishwasher, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people don't realize it, but yeah, you start to do it real fires real quick. And I guess you got thrown into being a leader quick.
Yeah, I mean, even now, like when I, visit I'm not at the locations every single day, but I do make my rounds. Um, I think it's very important to like one trait that my parents have taught me is always be humble. Because no matter how much success you have or whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, we're all people, so it's very important to always display humbleness, and that's something that I always hold near and dear to me. But yeah, college is fun, but it doesn't teach you about like the real world and
Yeah.
how you have to interrelate with people.
Yeah. Yeah, and you nailed it. It's you're dealing with people, like, and that's if you don't have the people skills. I mean, I've worked, like I said, a lot of bars and restaurants in New York, and I've had some amazing managers, and I've had some awful people to work for. And it's those amazing managers that you're like, I'll do anything for you. Like I'll stay. I don't care. I'll just stay for 10 more hours. I'll come in early, but those other managers, you're like, nah, I don't want to go in tomorrow. No, I'm not going to show up for you. I don't care that something happened. But like, if you treat people like people, you'll be surprised how much they treat you like people.
I agree. Our team, and I'm so grateful for our team. We've had people on our staff, from servers to cooks to bartenders to food runners, who have been with us for 5+ years. I mean, we're a relatively new company. 8 years to me isn't that much. When you start thinking about 20, I'm like, okay, yeah, you have some like, history there, and so I think what we're doing, it's working, and that's something that we truly stand for as well. And it shows by the team that we have, and they've been with us for 5+ years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did it go for your parents making that leap from working as somebody to opening the restaurant? Was it I mean, you said they took pretty much their life savings. And
Yeah. I mean,
opened
that's
this up.
scary.
I mean,
That was it. It was
Yeah.
mainly my mom leading the decision making. My dad actually was fearful. He was like, I don't think we should do this. Like, I don't, and I understand, like, that's your life savings. Like, that's, you have to have a little bit of luck with that as well. I think. Yeah, I think they were at that time that they're just like, we either do it or don't. We're getting older, or do we see ourselves in these roles? As you get older, you don't have that same like stamina and strength as like when you were like 20 years old. Like you become more tired. You're vulnerable to much more. So my parents are now 51 and 52. So I mean, they're still young, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when they're still young, but
I'm in my late 40s. Be careful.
yeah. So they were in their like late 30s, early 40s when they made that decision to like begin doing this. So I'm thankful. I have a job, they have a job, and we manage with what we can.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, is there just going to expand some more? Is there plans for that, or you're just taking one thing at a time here?
It's hard because my mom. So this year, we had a sit down with her, and with 3 restaurants right now, 3 projects. She decided last year to open up 2 more projects.
Oh wow!
And my biggest question is, Mom, like, who are like, we can only hold on to so much as a family team, and then we have to begin
Yeah.
outsourcing really,
Yeah.
because we can't handle that much. Even with the most like efficient workflow, you can't do that much. And my mom's always a believer, and I think she's taught me to be fearless,
Yeah.
because I don't think I would have the capacity to say, okay, we're going to open up two more
Mm.
projects, right? But we stand behind her, and
Yep.
so this coming and by the end of this year, we have a food stall that's Taqueria Habanero,
Mm.
and we have
A new
a
concept.
a new concept for a bar,
Oh
and
wow.
that's Alegria. Alegria bar. Alegria means joy. So it's fun as we're developing the concept right now for Alegria, because we not only want, like, tequila mezcal. Our focus there is highlighting tequila and mezcal cocktails. With
Mm.
Alegria, we want to expand upon that and really, showcase like all of our knowledge with rum, with vodka, with
Mm.
tequila and mezcal as well, with
Yeah.
whiskey, but just really elaborate more on our current offerings.
Mm.
So yeah, there's two more projects coming up, and there are babies, as I would say. Like, those are the projects that my mom has let me graciously take the lead on, and it's kind of like she's saying, okay, Yicela, like, it's time for you to lead now. Let's see, because I work for my mom, I work for my parents. I do have decision making power, but at the end all be all, they're the ones who have created these three
Yeah.
projects, and it's them. I
Yeah.
just their admin work. So now it's really, they're saying, okay, here you are. Like, let's show me what you have. So,
Mm.
so yeah, I think that's the next step.
Yeah.
And just keep growing in the DC community. Like, I really want people to like see us as a social enterprise, that we're doing more for the community,
Mm.
not just a bar, not just a restaurant, but saying, how can we help people in all capacities with like furthering their English skills, like,
Mm.
especially for the Latino community, espe- especially for the Latino community, because that's what I am. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a Latina. So I think it's important that in this field that's dominated, you know, by Americans, that we, help amplify like their strengths.
Mm.
A lot of the times we see Latinos as bar backs, food runners, and the supportive roles. But how can we, help them lose that fear? Because a
Mm.
lot of the times, it really, like, they have extensive knowledge, but it's the language barrier that discourages them from, stepping up into these
Right.
leadership roles,
Yeah.
right? So what, how can, like, with our team, like, we, like, in our team, we provide like stipends for, like, if there's classes you want to take, just, send us your confirmation that you've been enrolled. Like, we are more than happy to like do that for you, because we know this is something that
Mm.
will help you in the future, even if you're not with us as well. Like, it really, it makes me, almost to like, it brings me to tears to like help other people who have helped us.
Mm.
It's a give and take relationship, and I really think like taking care of your team is very important.
Wow. And you said you were doing some charity work in college, or is that or
No, just I was sending out proposals, like
oh.
catering proposals.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I thought you had mentioned some charity work before as well that you were doing.
no.
Um, so you're paying some of your employees, or you're helping to pay for.
Yeah, we're just reimbursing them, like,
Hmm.
basically, if they, we let them know, like, if you need any, like, computer 101 class, English 101 classes, or anything that's like, if you feel like your career is something else that's not in the
Yeah.
hospitality, and you've been working for us for like 5 years, then we would gladly help like pay like part of your tuition. Like,
Wow.
that's something that, you know, at the end all be all, like, it's something for us intrinsically, like, makes us happy, and they've helped create what we are now. So I believe we owe it to them, and my mom believes it too, that we owe it to our staff and team.
Wow. Is there other like resources down in DC that that like kind of help the Latin
Oh
community
yeah,
or
there's tons of them. Like, like the Latino Economic Development Center, like
Hmm.
they helped us. They helped my
Yeah.
mom make a business plan when like, even before I was really, really involved, they were the ones who helped my mom give her workshops on budgeting and, making that
Oh, that's cool.
proposal. So yeah, like there's tons of organizations, especially in the DC area. So yeah.
Yeah.
So these two new projects really seek to like begin creating those like partnerships with these nonprofits in the DC area.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you see like, like the American culture? Like, do you, I mean, so someone who's in tequila and mezcal,
Mhm.
I was a bartender, and that's one of the reasons I started Arte Agave. Is a lot of people started asking questions about what is reposado, what is
Yeah.
they had no idea even what mezcal was. They thought it was some new thing that just hit the market.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to create something that they could they can learn and get educated, but I didn't want it to be another like, I mean, let's face it, American bastardized party of just shooting tequila and stuff. Over your last 8 years, have you seen the American palate change? Have you seen the American, you know,
Oh my God.
yeah, realize culture a little bit more than it
So,
used to be?
so I
I,
guess one I
uh,
guess one thing in regards to Arte Agave, and I'll tell you personally that I saw attending your events, you did not just cater for for one area. You catered to the community,
Hmm.
and that made us feel comfortable. And I'll tell you that, and seeing other friends coming by to that event and them feeling comfortable as well just means a lot to us. And it's like, well, that's in the part for Arte Agave, and I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you. And we, the one thing that we do is that we always ask the community, like, what do you want? What should I have there? What should we do? What is, it's not. I mean, yeah, we produce the event, but it's not really my event, right? It's everyone
Yeah,
who's part of it. And like I said, when I started to drink tequila, I was the same way. I was like, I just thought it was some cheap little product made from Mexico. And
yeah.
then I'm like, then I start to learn, and I'm like, learn about agaves. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like the farmers and the people and the land, and you start to really, really appreciate. And I was like, everyone else needs to learn and appreciate this. And anyway, that's kind of why we started it. And it's grown, and the agave category is growing. But I just, I wanted to see your thoughts on just the American palate and the reaction to culture a little bit, and to, obviously the agaves, and just to see what changes has happened, if any.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you caught on to this social media post, but also social media isn't really a good source of news. But
Really?
yeah, I forgot. I don't know. Maybe it's Forbes. I could be wrong, right? But they said that this year Americans purchased or consumed more mezcal than whiskey. So
Yeah.
that to me just shows a lot. Okay, like you know. I think the industry is doing its part in educating, consumers that there is more to mezcal than just, taking it as like just shooting it down, like you're supposed to
or
sip
even
it.
Yeah,
Um,
or even with tequila as well.
mhm.
There's been more of a
Yeah.
highlight in the quality of work that's being done.
Mhm.
And just to give you a quick example, with like Jose Cuervo switching over to tradicional,
Mm.
that's something that we were like, hey, we're happy that they've done that. But as a consumer, I'll tell you, and we're seeing people's palates, people are more tied to traditional stuff, traditional making of stuff, um, the labor the labor work of something. And that's something that we've noticed at Tequila Mezcal. I'll tell you that it's like they want to hear what it is, they want to
Mm.
understand what it is. um, so that in that part, I feel like, if we can just make that little change, at one location, which is, once needle in a haystack in the whole world or in the whole U.S., then that's something that personally we'll feel proud of.
Mm.
Just continue educating the public on what mezcal and tequila and even any other type of agave products that come.
Like Soto and
Sotol
Raicilla.
and rice, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've kind of seen it at our events. The first year we did it like 10 years ago, it was just,
Mhm.
we almost had to beg people to show up. And then
Wow.
10 years later, now we sell out all the time because this category is to your point, I think it's it's the agave is the number one selling spirit in America now. It's passing bourbon or just past vodka. Now it's on its way to pass bourbon. I think in New York City, at least, it's number one. But it's not stopping, as you can tell. I mean, I get new brands that are coming out year after year after year.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be in the tequila mezcal game.
Yeah, and at the same time, we have to also be cautious. Like as demand increases, like how are we, reciprocating the communities that produce this product, and that's where at least for tequila mezcal, and I'm sure other bars who have an agave program, really working with brands who are creating those programs to really help the farmers or help
like choosing the right brands, basically
increasing their quality of life. It's important. It's not just one thing that I'm seeing. It's not just about the big brands and a pretty bottle. Now it's like the big, like a brand, a pretty bottle, and like what are you doing for the community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's the one thing that I've seen at my events, my consumer events, that people do ask those specific questions. And there's a lot of brands out there that are doing it correctly. And it's kind of nice that you could walk up to a brand, find out exactly what they're doing, and then you go to talk to another brand and be like, are you doing this? Are you doing it this way? Are you giving back? And then you can find out what brands are doing it right, what brands aren't. Because it seems to be a little, not a ton of rules around tequila. So that's why you see maybe some additives or whatever production. But there are brands that are doing it correctly. And I think the consumers, at least from our events, are coming in, learning and wanting to do it the right way and follow those brands that are doing it the right way, not just because you got some celebrity attached to you. That's still big, but I think a lot of consumers are a little more cautious and they're a little more aware of brands that are out there.
Yeah. And just understanding the variety, I'll tell you, just I guess from our trips to Oaxaca and really seeing that there's just more variety of product when you actually visit the palenques directly. It just shows you that it's like, hey, what's out here is just what's been able to make it.
Yeah.
And because the palenques that we visited, I'm like, I still they actually have Instagrams. I'm like, hey, like I'm happy you have an Instagram. So they've gone that far, to look
Right.
for a way. And I'm like, hey, like, do you ship to the U.S.? Because I would like to highlight, because I know I see the palenque and I see where they are and how they do things, and I'm like, hey, I wish I can have your product and tell my customers this is what you're having, And the only thing that we can really kind of do is just bring a bottle back and then keep it and share it in that way. But
yeah. That's awesome, man. And so do you guys what else is like, what are you guys always drinking when you're drinking? Is it tequila mezcal or are you guys?
I'm a mezcal girl.
You are. Are you
I
doing neat? Do you do cocktails? How are you doing it?
I do cocktails, if I see, I'm also very open to a lot of spirits as well, but my go-to drink would be a mezcal drink. And, as the night progresses, I'll probably have it neat. I'm like, yeah, I just want to taste it by itself, I'm always a big fan. Like if it's, espadín is the most common agave to produce cocktails. But if I see something that's different, I'm like, oh, I definitely want to taste that.
Yeah.
But something that's very like right now, I think from what I know, like in the bar community, a lot of people are just like, like it's high stress, at the end of the night, like you're just like, I'm tired. Can I have that beer? Can I have like a shot of whatever? At least like for us, we are trying to like limit our alcohol consumption because with so much going on, the last thing that I want to do is wake up in the morning and have like a hangover. I'm on my days off. Yeah.
Right.
I'm all in it, but every single day, like it's very hard in this industry just to like not drink. You're surrounded by it, and it's like part of our culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but we're slowly trying, and I think we're reaching that balance that we need because with when you're on 100%, like the day is just different than when you're hungover and tired. So
You're way too smart, too young. It took me over a decade to learn that, man. I was drinking into my 30s behind the bar, and
well,
I didn't learn.
37. I'm still, I mean, it's not, I can't say that, like, I don't drink, like, even before this podcast, I was like, I'm a bit nervous. I'm going to have a shot of mezcal to really,
And then,
decrease the anxiousness,
and
but,
I do have a little cookie with me.
but, we are
Yeah,
trying, and it's something that we can slowly change.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you're recognizing that. Like I said, I
yeah,
was about 15 years in the hospitality industry. I was like, man, I should stop drinking like during my shifts and not going to work hungover. But to your point, it's like you're surrounded by alcohol. You have friends that come in, and you run in a bar, and then if you leave and you go to a friend's bar, and they're like, have a shot, have another shot, and you're just like, oh, sure, sure.
I know. We were at a friend's restaurant recently, right? And like, we just went there to really have their menu. We heard so many good things about it, really. And he was like, "Here, have this drink, have this." I'm like, "Dude, relax. Like, we really are just trying to have a dinner." Like, I just got taken off guard. I was like, "Whoa, I had not
Yeah.
experienced that in a long time." But like, that is part of it. Like when you have buddies behind the bar or at restaurants, you're like,
Mhm.
have this, have that. And it's like it's it's normal. So how do we break away from that? Or
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
break away or just change it. Have mocktails because mocktails are amazing as well.
yeah, yeah. Now, like I said, the fact that you're even talking about it is great. Like I said, I just never even. I was like, oh, this is great. This is so much fun, and it took me way too long to slow down my consumption while working. But it's fun. It's fun at the same
Yeah,
time.
Mhm.
yeah.
So, are you guys are you tacoed out after your shift? Are you eating tacos at home, or what are you guys cooking?
Ooh.
Well, we don't cook right now because we're just busy, so we eat out. But when we eat it out, like we normally try and get like those vegetables and salads because it's like if I have tacos all day, like that's not going to give me the energy that I need.
Yeah.
That's only protein. I
Yeah.
need those green veggies.
They're
Yeah. Okay.
delicious. They're delicious. I'll
No,
tell
they
you,
are
they are
delicious,
delicious.
but
Yeah, you can only have so much of something. That's the thing, and
yeah.
it's like you. I mean, personally, sometimes I'm like, hey, let's have some Thai. Hey, let's have some French. Hey, let's have something. Even Mexican food. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want Mexican today. I'm like, I've had enough Mexican food. But
Yeah.
yeah, or let's have some Spain.
After 8 years,
Yeah,
like I'm not tired of our food. A couple weeks
yeah.
ago,
But we had some today, so
yeah, we had some today.
we
Yeah,
had we had some tacos de lengua today, and yeah, I'm
they
like, yeah, you
I'm
guys.
like here eating, and I'm just like,
This takes
and
me.
I'm like, not to be pretentious, but I do
This is
think this is why people say like we're one of the best in DC. I'm here like taking a bite, and I'm like, okay, yeah,
and they're good.
and they're good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, the reviews are still coming in positive. I mean, for the new places and
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's one thing that my mom always taught me. It's like, just keep doing what you keep doing.
Mm.
You will have, when we received our first negative review, I remember exactly where I was. I called my mom crying, and I was like, "But mom, they don't understand how much like we're trying, right? Like I don't understand like why we received this negative review, right?" Um, and she just kept saying, just keep doing what we're doing. And today I woke up and there was a 5-star review. I'm like, okay, so like, but we do have to pay attention to it because if something's off, we have to address
Right.
it. But luckily, I think we have it reined really well that like we all know what we have to do in order
Mm.
for us to keep being in this business.
Yeah. Yeah. So your mom sounds pretty positive. Obviously, she seems to have no fear. I want to do this. I want to open up a restaurant. I want to open up more. Has she always been like that? Has she always been like
Yeah.
that?
So, even before she immigrated to the U.S., she, my parents came from very, very humble, poor beginnings.
Mm.
Like, my
Where are they
mom.
from?
So my dad's from Mexico and my mom is from El Salvador.
Gotcha.
So I remember my mom telling me like, I had like she comes from she has 6 siblings, right? So it's 7
Oh, wow.
brothers and sisters, right?
Jeez.
And for Christmas they had to like share a hard boiled egg, like And I'm like, I can't imagine that, you know. So they really come from very humble beginnings. So you know, when there, she had to learn how to like sell, like be in business in order to sustain
Mm.
herself and her siblings. You know, her parents, my grandparents, they were farmers, so like
Mm.
they had to sell to make things meet, to make ends meet. So yeah, she's learned from a very young age how to be a businesswoman, but also I think she's just had it in her.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that immigrant mentality is no joke.
That's
it is
yeah,
very
it's
different.
very
Yeah, I guess when you're sharing a hard-boiled egg, then everything's up from there. Jeez.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's and I'll tell you, I guess just seeing her and just hearing her, she's like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if we should do this. She's like, no, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing it because you're telling me, but I hope that this goes well. She's like, yep, it's gonna go well. And that's
Wow.
and I think a lot of that, uh, uh, I guess a lot of that, she's installed a lot of that on us as well.
Mm.
Don't have fear. Don't have fear. Just do it. Just
Yeah.
do it and figure it out. If it goes bad, you understand. Try it again, or do it something, or do it another way, or try to figure it out another way. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that leap of faith is like you have to take it. If you don't take it,
Oh.
it's like yeah, you
Yeah, I
never.
mean, nothing's gonna happen if you don't try. Like,
That's right.
yeah, like might as well go for it. Might as well try it. It's amazing that
Yeah,
that you have that, and she's passing that on to you guys. Do
yeah.
you feel like you have that in you, or are you still a little cautious
It's
when?
scary. It's
it's
scary,
always
but
scary. I
yeah,
just
it's
I we say
it's
it's scary
scary, but
because it is scary, you know, but
you might as
my first reaction is always like fear. But then once you
Hmm,
get past the fear,
that's how you got this.
we got this,
Yeah,
right? And then when we're in it, then we have to be like, all right, like let's keep moving, let's make it to the finish line. And then when we're at the finish line, it's like, all right, we made it. We have to still keep going though.
yeah.
even
Yeah.
I guess like for serving food and even at Arte Agave, that was a trial for myself because we hadn't really done you know gone out and served food like that
Hmm,
basically at an event like that. So I'm very thankful about the opportunities and not just that, but the experiences and where that have taught me, hey, like we can do this, and if you put your mind to it, you're gonna be able to do it. So now it's like we're trying to connect with the community. We're actually doing something consistent in where we're going to a bar and serving food on that day.
hmm.
So stuff like that, basically, to continue putting the name out of Taqueria Habanero
Yeah.
to exposing it to other communities as well.
Yeah, because even though it's like, you know, we exist in DC, DC is saturated with so many restaurants.
Yeah.
We don't have like any like full-time marketing or social media person like we do the social media. So you know, like even before this podcast, I was like out here just like taking a picture of a mezcal bottle to post on a tequila mezcal page, you know. But it's hard, it's difficult to stand out with so many other restaurants, but
Yeah.
it's not impossible. You can
Right.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys seem to be doing, I mean, a great job of it. I mean, you seem busy, you seem successful. And like I said, when we started talking, I was like, oh, they got big old smiles on their face. Something's got to be going right.
Yeah, that's something that you always have to have a smile because hey, you just gotta be positive.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
things are gonna be like you said, like Mirna tells us, it's gonna be okay. You got it.
You have to surround yourself with other like minded people and
Yeah.
believe, you know, it is positivity, but also like hope is what keeps us
Mm,
going as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know, once you become embodying that, then you know, the universe will work itself out and you'll begin attracting those things as well.
Well, you're way too smart for. Like I said, it took me and again another couple of decades to get the bad people out of my life, and I was always one of those people like I'm trying to help everybody, and then I realized like, oh, all you're doing is sucking the energy out of me, and I'm not concentrating on anything that I'm doing. I'm so glad that you're young and learning all this and applying all this to life because Like I said, for me, it took way too long to get the negative people out of my space.
Yeah, I have to. I'm gonna be honest.
You
All
know?
of my friends are so much older than me as well. So
Yeah.
like, like they have served as my mentors. Um, my parents are my friends as well.
Mm.
I mean, I do have friends my age, but when I surround myself with my friends, I'm just like, yeah, I think I want to be talking about like what's going on and the world right now instead of like what's happening right now on Instagram.
And then I guess then the part that she says, hey, my parents are my friends. It's like, we've learned also to have the balance with them as well. And like when it's work, when it's work, when it's life, it's life. It's family time now, and then
Mm.
it's still work time. So we've also we're still working on it, but it's always a work. But I feel like we've reached a part in where we can understand, where we can accept each other at those different phases.
Yeah, was that always the case when you were doing business? Was there any, or was it just always work, always business? Was there any separation of
It
like, oh,
was
we're gonna turn off the business now and hang
before
out?
William came. It
Yeah.
was very messy because we didn't know how to communicate. Like we communicated with each other, but we didn't have strong enough boundaries to like just stop and like take a
Mm.
breather and then come back and like reflect on what you have like are
Right.
about to say,
Yeah.
So we didn't realize that like I'm saying like me and my parents, right? So me and my parents, like they taught me how to like, because they wanted something, they needed to like get it through me, right? And I
Mm.
just couldn't understand their points. So it was my own personal ego and resistance that always fought back against them because I just
Mm.
couldn't open myself to understanding them and what they wanted. But with William coming in, I feel like he's always been this mediator where he has taught us how to communicate,
Mm.
like me and my parents. And yeah, like we now are more mindful of what we say. We take those breathers, but communication is key in everything that we do. Like in the mornings, my mom is calling us at 7:30, and we have to tell her like what is the schedule for today.
Yeah. That's our.
And then
Yeah.
when we're there, we're talking about things, giving like she needs to know like every micro detail, and we have to
Yeah.
just provide it to her.
Don't lie.
Yeah.
Never lie.
Don't
Yeah.
lie.
Never.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the one thing.
Those
That's the
lies
one thing. Yeah. That's.
catch up to you.
Yeah.
Are you talking about experience of lying
No,
to
no,
mom, or
no.
are
Just
you?
no, just in general,
Yeah.
because that's the one thing that she's always said. Hey, like just say how it is.
Mm.
Yeah, say how it
Yeah,
is.
don't
Even if it
sugarcoat
don't
it.
sugarcoat it, just say how it is, and we get to the root of the problem. That's it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard.
you guys are great. I mean, you get forget college and school. Who needed to go to managerial school or business school?
Yeah.
You're the,
No,
you're
but
the,
I definitely appreciate people who have gone to school and like,
Yeah.
bring in like, more like, oh, like let's look at the cost of this radish, like
Yeah.
it is important, when you're when like at least for me, like when you're here overseeing things, right? You forget about those details, like where you could get this radish, like better quality, like better pricing, and it's all important. So that's why it's good to have a bigger team.
Yeah.
So
mm,
as with time, like that's what we're envisioning. We are going to have a bigger team. Um, but for right now, it's just us. And, we're doing that
Yeah.
R&D every single day,
Yeah.
like understanding how to like, read a P&L statement, all this stuff.
all the fun stuff, right?
All the
All
fun
the fun
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Are you
that's
guys are you number people at all, or do you hate numbers?
I
Oh.
hate numbers. I hate numbers. I have to, triple check my work all the time because I'm
Yeah.
just like not confident. I can do it. I
Yeah.
understand it, but it takes me a little bit longer to like read those numbers and calculate them, but it will get done.
Yeah. And I was looking into being to the criminal justice, and now I think about it, I'm like, I think I found my niche, which is
Mm.
this instead of that.
Yeah. Tequila mezcal is a lot more fun than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Well, listen, I really, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being part of Arte Agave. We're going bigger this year. We have more, we've got more brands, we have more artists. We have a lot of really cool things kind of planned. So we appreciate you guys being part of the Arte Agave experience this year. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We appreciate you as well.
Yeah.
Just so people can know, what's social media, website, where can people find everything?
People can find us at Taqueria Habanero on Instagram and Facebook. And then we also have Tequila Mezcal DC on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And somebody's in DC, just come and give us a shout.
Yeah, we love talking
here
to people.
Yeah, we'll be here, and hey, we'll probably share a mezcal with and be like, hey. Yeah.
There you go. I like it. And you can always check them out, Arte Agave, September 9th in DC. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be a blast. It's definitely all everything that I do, Arte Agave is my favorite, hands down, no question.
Yeah. We're excited to be there as well. So thank you for having us this year.
Cool. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Bye.